All right, hello. My name's Jason. I use he, him pronouns. We are here tonight to play the Sprawl, a cyberpunk game. The players will play hard-bitten, desperate operatives. We are playing in a Blade Runner-esque universe, kind of set right after the first movie. This is session, was going to be 5, but we missed last week, so we're down to 4. So this is the second of 4 sessions. And this game is part of the Gauntlet online gaming community. Play a couple hundred games a month. And if you're interested, you can check us out at gauntlet-rpg.com. Let's go around and everybody introduce themselves with their pronouns and their character with their pronouns. Tell us, not a lot of detail at this point, but just tell us something you think is cool about your character, you're excited about. And our first session, I have Philip go first every time. So this time we're going to have Bethany go first, then Blaze, then Philip. Okay? So Bethany, tell us about yourself and your character.
Yep. Hi, I'm Bethany. They, them pronouns. I'm playing Lee Reza, who uses he, him pronouns. He's the driver. What he drives specifically is a helicopter, which he kind of stole from his former gang, which were, it was a drug gang with aspirations to be revolutionaries. They weren't great at the revolutionary part, and his former association with them is not a thing that he wants known.
Remember the name of that organization?
I'm mixing it up with another game I'm in, because it's not the Wet Boys. That's a different game.
No. Close. Chosen Kids.
The Chosen Kids. There
Chosen
we go.
Kids, yeah. All right. Blaze, tell us about yourself and your character.
Hi, my name is Blaze. I love the opportunity to play Sprawl. I've only run it. I've never actually played it, which is a lot of fun. I'm going to be playing Kincaid. He's the soldier, or a soldier. Something interesting about him is that he works for an anonymous machine, or an AI, which has like a religious order, and so I'm like a low-level acolyte in the in that religious group, and have been associated with it for a while. Yeah, I'm interested to get my feet wet.
Have you thought, if not, it's fine, and maybe think about it, but is there a name of that group that you're part of?
Something like the let me come back to it. I'll
Sure.
Something,
sure.
Something nice.
Philip, tell us about yourself and character.
Sure. My name is Philip Rogers. I also go by Snarkade. I've played with the Gauntlet for a couple of years now, and I'm currently located in Rhode Island. Okay. And I'm playing Mac. He's an infiltrator. He likes to go places he's not supposed to be and take things that don't belong to him. That's just kind of his thing. The other characters also know his friend, who's Liam, who is a fixer, Liam Caulfield. At some point during the course of it, Liam let out that Mac and him were roommates at boarding school together. So apparently, this ramshackle down on his luck, covered in mud street thief is apparently from real deep money.
Okay, that's some new information. Okay, I remember you saying that you were, and you were old friends. But you guys, how did you describe it again? You went to school together, or
boarding school roommates?
Boarding school. Okay, all right. So safety-wise, last time Blaze wasn't here, but last time we had a talk, and we decided that even though we're playing in a Blade Runner universe, we're going to have replicants behind we're going to have replicants be behind a veil. The subject matter that replicants bring out a little dicey, especially at this time in our world. So we decided it's better if they're in this universe, but we won't have them front and center. In addition, safety-wise, we have some other lines and veils. If you guys look at Roll20, people put in a few things just to get those out. We have lines on sexual assault, harm to domestic animals, and harm to children. And we have veils, like I said, on replicants and consensual sexual activity. In addition, if anything is objectionable to you for any reason, you put the X card up. If you physically can do it, most of my attention is going to be on this screen right here most of the time. So, and I have a bad habit. I lose track of chat as we go along. And so if anything, is hard or difficult for you for whatever reason, feel free to put that X card up there, and we will, move past that stuff as best we can. At the end of today's sessions, we're going to spend a few minutes to do some stars and veil, or stars and wishes, just kind of some feedback to each other, things that we liked, and feedback to me of things you'd like to see more of, or things you'd like to see done differently. So if you notice those things as we play, you just kind of put a pin in them, save those for that moment that we'll have at the end of our session. All right, let's get started. So when we played last time, we created characters, and one of our players dropped out, but Blaze was able to jump in today, and he's already created a character. We'll learn more about his character here in a moment. Because we had a character drop out, there's a thing in this game you might recall of links, which is kind of what you use when you help people. And you create links by like creating these missions in the past that you had gone on together. And so I had gone back and I sort of did some editing to to reduce the clocks and whatnot, because one of our characters dropped out. In addition, we did the very first part of our first mission. We did the getting the job move, and one of the results of the getting the job move that was you guys selected, or that you didn't select, is that you did not select that it doesn't draw attention. So the mission drew a little bit of attention, and I've raised the police clock by 1. So actually, let me take you to the clocks. Because like I said last time, most of our time we're going to be spending on this page here. This is where we have our clocks. So if you see at the bottom, there's the police/Blade Runners clock. So there's one of those little pie pieces has been filled. There's, like I said, there's tons of information on this page, but feel free to ask me about any of it if it's confusing to you. But probably by the end, we'll all have a good sense of like what's what on this page here. So Blaze, why don't you tell us about Kincaid? Kind of the one paragraph version.
So Kincaid spent, he's roughly in his early 30s. He spent most of his 20s fighting corporate wars in South America. Like life in the jungle has been like basically what he's been living at. He comes from like this background where he was just like a soldier from a very early age. He knew that there are two things that motivated him, and that was structure and direction. So in a sense, he's like he doesn't do well when those two things aren't present in his life. And so he easily fell into like the military, the military rabbit hole in a sense. Came from a broken home. I mean, inequality being so high in this world, it's very easy to fall into the trappings. And so once he became a soldier, he like, he was basically, I don't want to say gun for hire because that sounds quite crude. There's a bit of veneer to it to actually believe that he's working for like corporate masters in a sense. So he found that kind of that drive to move forward, which led him to come in contact or even be recruited by, I'm going to call it Ex Perpetua Ecclesiae Prodest, which translates in English, the Church of Everlasting Prophet. And basically like an AI religion that runs off the belief that prophet is the true path to happiness, which fits kind of well in a cyberpunkish dystopian inequality world. Is there anything else I want to say? So although like that exists, I would say that like traditionally he is mostly a collaborator. He tends to work well with others. He doesn't necessarily have a mean streak, though he does have a bit of the lust for money. So again, most people are chosen because they've never had wealth to begin with. So wealth is something to be treasured and to be cherished. So yeah, so I assume that I've actually taken part. I think we've worked together previously.
Yeah, we're gonna set up a mission, and we'll find out, to what extent other people have worked with you. Okay, that's good. That gives us a good feel for him. Cyberware wise, I believe you have a tactical computer.
I do.
What do you like? What is that from Kincaid? How does that work? How do you visualize that working?
It's almost like to pull a string on the religious aspect. It's very much like it's a piecemeal piece of chunk that comes in the back of my head, and it's like it's almost like having some sort of divine instinct to a certain belief. Like it's like the machine is like guiding or helping me achieve my goals in a sense. So it's like kind of like prayers from another being of some sort.
So you don't necessarily get like a visual display helping you. It's
no,
more
no,
like
no,
an instinct or
Yes.
a feeling that you should look
Yes.
over here or
Yes.
look at this, check this out. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let me scribble that down. Cyberware acts like a instinct. Okay. And you have a couple directives. What were your 2 directives?
Let me just go on my page because I'm not used to scrolling. So behavioral, when push comes to shove, the employer always comes first. And the second one is it's financial. When I hinder the mission for a chance at extra profit or market experience.
Okay. And let's do that thing we were talking about, links. So on the session 0 document, the very last step is step 9, and it's called links. So in this step, what you're going to do, Blaze, is you're going to describe a job that you did in which you had the central role. Name the corporation you ran the job against and tell us a little bit about the job.
Okay, so I was thinking of Epoch, and we were hired to kill a story about unsanitary meat processing practices in their factories.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have been something around. It could have been something that they don't use traditional animals. They like farm things that aren't like that you wouldn't be considered like they're alive by quote unquote bear standards,
Right. Some sort of like genetically modified
Yeah.
animals that don't have legs or something
Yeah.
horrible. Sure. Okay. And then we go around the table and we decide. You guys decide if you were part of that job. If you were, the epic clock will go up again. It's already gone up 1 because he's doing a job against them. And if you decide to be on that job, you'll gain a link with Kincaid, but that clock will go up 1. So Bethany, do you think you were on that job? Lee?
So our job was to kill the story about it.
Yes. Or the journalist.
Okay,
Or maybe
the journalist. I was
expose
gonna
it.
say, how did you do
You're
that?
working against Epic, so maybe
Yeah.
you were working to expose them.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
Right,
If we're
yes.
working against them, then we're trying to expose it. That's even better. Oh my God. I love that so much.
Okay. What do you think?
Yes, I think I got a job like as a janitor or something in this place and took a lot of, not great videos because I had to hide it, but like some of them were close enough to show what was going on.
Okay. So you will take a link. So on your character sheet, I think it's under links. I think it's what it's called. Put in Kincaid and put a 1. And I will raise the clock 1. And Mac, do you think you were part of this job?
I think I was. I think it was one of those where they got in, they got to a certain point, and then they realized that the information that they were had to get was behind a door that they couldn't get through because people were there. So it had to be subtle, and they brought me in to get into a room subtly.
Okay. So same deal. You add a link with Kincaid on your sheet, and Epic is now at 2100. So what these mean, where they're at right now, if they have 2 pie pieces, that's 1800. It goes 1500, 1800, 21, 22, 23, and then 0 or midnight when it's full. And if they're at 1800, they're suspicious about you guys. So right now, Quickway is suspicious about you guys. If it gets to 2100, they're starting to get hostile. They're not going to kill you probably unless they have an excuse or a good reason, but you're starting to get on their radar in a bad way. And those are Epic and KRGMBH. I forget what KR stands for, but we can look it up. Speaking of which, what you told us about like that long Latin name and just a little bit about it. When you get a moment, Blaze, there's a folder on Roll20 called Setting, and under, I think it would probably go under, I don't know if that would be people, probably maybe, or corporations for the Church of Everlasting Prophet. But find a spot where you think it fits and just kind of scribble down. So the setting documents, again, are kind of there for us all to work with, to scribble down notes as we build up our setting. All right. So, and when Blaze made his character with me last week, we went through and he kind of decided whether he was on your mission. So he may have. I think he ended up with some links with you guys too. So, so the job. What happened was that Mac was downtown in the Sprawl, and somebody had hired a courier. The courier drove up, gave Mac this phone. Mac answered it, and this mysterious, backlit figure, didn't identify themselves and said, "We got this rush job for you. We need you to go out into the waste, beyond the Sprawl, into the waste, to somewhere called the Solar Power Farm." And apparently there had been a shootout there between a gang of thugs and the police. And the police are in the process of moving out there to investigate this site, to record all of the stuff that cops do, and to gather all of the evidence and bring it back into the Sprawl. And this mysterious figure wants you to go out there and stop that from happening. They want you to capture any physical evidence you can and secure it and get to a location that's safe. And if you can't drag that evidence away from the site, destroy anything you have to leave there. And they want you to destroy any sort of digital recordings that are made. And they explained that being out in the waste, the cops are not going to transmit information, over the airwaves, because it's too dangerous. The data security is horrible from the waste into the Sprawl. There's so many places that could be hacked along the way. They're not going to do that. So they're going to physically carry the data in, then they're going to upload it to the Matrix. So you guys have to make sure to intercept that stuff before it gets to the Matrix. From experience that cops work slow and step by step. And if they should get it back to the police station downtown, depending on the time of day, they might not upload it till the next morning. It might go into an evidence locker or something in the police station. What else? You also know that it would be a good idea not to kill any cops. The cops generally have their hands full and don't really, unless they're really getting compensated well by a corp or somebody, they don't really put a lot of energy into any one job, no matter how ugly it might be. But if a cop gets killed, the cops will motivate their resources to strike hard at, whoever it is that was behind a killing of a cop. So it would behoove you not to kill cops if you can help it. Your contact said that once you've accomplished the mission, they will contact you on that phone that Mac has and set up, payment. Any questions on getting the job? And Mac made the roll, and you got a 7 and 9 result, which allowed you to choose one from a pick list, and you chose pay well, I think, right? So as of right now, the job is paying 3 times the creds that you guys have committed to the job. And each Mac and Lee both committed 3 cred. And that means they're really putting themselves on the line. So that also increases one of what we call the legwork or the action clock. Because 2 of you did that, we increased the legwork clock by 1 and the action clock by 1. And Kincaid just committed 2 cred. Any questions about the setup leading into where we're at? Okay. Just briefly on the setting. Again, we're playing in the Blade Runner universe, so imagine visually and technology-wise, as much as we learned from those movies, that's kind of where we're playing. And it's about a year after the first movie, and the Tyrell Corporation, the Nexus 6 replicants, that you had heard about, it never really got into the open society, but you had heard about a lot of violent incidents of these Nexus 6 replicants, and they've either died off or they've been retired by the Blade Runner unit. But Tyrell has gone out now a couple months ago, and they've released these Nexus 8 replicants that are supposed to be safe and compliant. But a lot of human gangs have reacted very violently to these replicants, and there's this sort of underground battling going on between these replicants and these gangs of supremacist sort of humans. But again, that's something that hasn't really bled over into your lives necessarily. It's something you kind of hear about, and it's kind of around in the streets, and there's sort of violence is happening. We're playing in the greater LA Sprawl. So this is the Blade Runner Sprawl, and you can think of it, the downtown area is probably only a few square miles, but it has the massive pyramids, the Tyrell Corporation pyramids, it was super high tech, lots of spinners and flying, anti-grav, personal transports flying around overhead. Everything's shiny and clean and bright and high tech. People are well dressed, well fed, very classy. But even there, if you get down into sort of the ground level and the sort of alleys, it gets pretty grimy pretty quick. And as you leave this central LA area, you move into the main sprawl, and it increasingly grimy, increasingly sketchy in terms of personal safety. It becomes very congested. There's 1,000 different cultures in the city, intermixed, all of the cultures and languages and foods and everything. It's a real melting pot of all the world's cultures jammed into the city. And if you move away and as you move out, it gets increasingly poorer and poorer, less and less services. Once you get 3 or 4 miles out into the sprawl, you're talking about housing blocks, with very intermittent electricity or water supply, tons of violence, really controlled by gangs mostly, very rarely patrolled or controlled by the police. And after from the central area, once you get about 10 miles out, the sprawl just kind of peters out. There's no wall or anything, but it gets to a point where it's far enough away that just people don't live there anymore because there's no services whatsoever, and it's very dangerous. The wasteland, physically, environmentally, it's toxic and dangerous and unpleasant for sure, but there's also roving gangs. We're getting into a Mad Max kind of universe. You get that far out. So that's kind of the sprawl that we're going to be playing in. Kincaid, I think we'll start with kind of a brief flashback, and you're talking with your fixer. And do you remember his name or their name? You're muted.
Sorry, navigating two screens at the same time. Yes, their name was. Oh, I don't remember. I remember. Well, I don't remember.
It's a cool name. We rolled in the D100
yeah, it's a really
table.
cool name. That's why.
It's Lucius Warbaby.
Oh, thank you, Lucius Warbaby.
Lucius Warbaby.
Warbaby.
What does Lucius look like, you think?
Lucius is probably in. I'm actually going to say he's like 25.
Okay.
He's young and like extremely well connected and extremely ambitious in terms of like gets result. Like started, could have started very young. Also could have started 16 and organizing. It could have been as simple as just organizing, drug deals or whatever. And just has a reputation for like an eye in detail and knowing who needs what when and being able to fill that vacuum very quickly.
Sure. And is Lucius like dressed in like religious robes, finery, everyday garb? How do you think he presents himself or herself? Is it what are their pronouns, would you say?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll say they them.
Okay.
I'll say they them. I think they present themselves in like in a very like kind of like flowy trench coat, but like everything about them is utilitarian but expensive looking.
Sure. And your organization is pretty exclusive. I'm picturing it being at least semi-secret, and I guess as I think of it, I'm visualizing something like the what's Tom Cruise's religion? What's the name of those guys?
Oh my
Scientology.
God.
Scientologists, yeah. Probably not that, but kind of exclusive, kind of mysterious.
I will say
but very specific to, highly talented professional operatives like yourself, not goofy celebrities. So no offense to Tom Cruise if he's watching, sorry. And I see you meeting and in a quiet room, very well appointed, probably minimalist. There's probably very little light, maybe a little bit of light like shining down on the table that's between you. And you mentioned that you have like this cyberware, attachment to your back of your skull. And I imagine, Lucius as a more advanced priest, I'm not sure what term they use, but whatever higher level in this hierarchy of this church, he probably has a pretty complicated network of cyber attachments, to his nervous system. And I picture him actually being kind of wired in, and there's this sort of globe on the table. And one thing we established about your organization is that they're neurally linked with, at a certain level up in the hierarchy, they're neurally linked to each other. So you're sitting there at the table, and you're just sitting quietly, and Lucius says, Kincaid, it has come to our we have been made known that an operation needs to be done quickly. We need someone competent, so I have called you in. And then like another voice speaks through his mouth, a woman, a French woman, we'll say. And she speaks in French. We'll assume you speak French. And I don't speak French. You actually do speak French, so I'm not going to even try to fake it. And, they say, it is known that 2 other agents have already been hired by the corporation, and on the table, like a VR display pops up, and you see a picture of Mac with like it scrolls some information about Mac, and you see a picture of Lee, and similarly it scrolls information about Lee, a picture of their or of his helicopter, and then another voice comes on, and maybe it's in like Mandarin, and it sounds like a man's voice, an older man's voice, and it says, we have analyzed their patterns of behavior, and we expect that they are meeting or will be meeting very shortly at this location. And it shows sort of like a satellite image of Lee's friend Worm has this, what do we call it, Bethany? It was a junkyard, right? It shows a junkyard in sort of like the mid sprawl, so not on the edge of the sprawl, but out in sort of the no man's land, the kind of where all the housing districts and the low rent areas are for sure. And there's this large, and it kind of zeroes in, and it shows you, it says, go here, meet with them, join them, accomplish the mission. Remember, the whims of the corporation are always paramount. Do not be distracted by any other opportunities. And then it comes back, and it's Lucius speaking to you, and he says, do you understand, Acolyte?
Very much so. I concur with the actions and will follow through on the actions.
Okay. And then we cut to the junkyard. And Lee, what do you think this junkyard looks like? What do you picture?
So like about half of it is an old parking deck. But it's kind of spilled over into this vacant lot with like some crumbling, who knows what the building was before, on it. And like I actually like hide the helicopter by that crumbling building. But it's just like, it's not just vehicles, it's also, appliances, computers, anything that you could get scrap from that could be useful.
Right. And I imagine, and it's run by your friend Worm.
Yep.
And I imagine, it's in the sprawl. There's one thing in Blade Runner, in the sequel, they have a whole bit in it where the actual San Diego is actually a dumping ground now. So like they show like these massive like hovercraft going over and dumping massive piles of junk down on San Diego. And so that's like the real junk that goes there. So this is stuff that actually like Worm, or maybe you, or maybe she hires people, or they hire people, I don't know. It goes through and actually pulls the wire, pulls the copper out, pulls like the any sort of computer chips that might have any value, anything that you can scavenge out of all of this. So there you are, and you're standing with Mac, and I think we had ended with the two of you by your helicopter, and I think we described it being sort of like covered with like a tarp. Mm-hmm. And up walks Kincaid. Up walks this guy. Are you dressed like your picture? If you broadcast your picture on Roll20 so everybody can kind of see what you look like.
How do you broadcast your picture?
If you open up your character sheet,
yep,
and next to your picture, the URL for your picture, there's a button that says broadcast right at the top of your character sheet on the right side.
Oh,
actually, why don't everybody do that? And then we can all, establish what we all look like here. There you go. Kincaid's up. There's Mac. And there's Lee. So Kincaid, are you dressed in like this tactical gear that you have?
Yeah. It's kind of like a face mask, like more like a foulard. Like I don't remember the term for it, but yeah.
Okay. So this guy comes walking up to you guys. What do, Mac?
At this point, I think I take I kind of turn slightly to the side to make a smaller target, put my hand inside my jacket, and start to feel for my submachine gun.
Sure.
That's about so as far as I go so far.
I just want to say that the weapon is slung in the back and not in the front. So just to ensure that etiquette is followed.
Okay.
But still close enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's the same, like kind of edge up, to put a little bit of this wrecked building between me and this strange, possibly cop-looking guy.
Now, we do know that you have worked at least once in the past from our links. So you know this is another operative that you've worked with on a job prior. So he's not a complete stranger.
What are you wearing that indicates that we would recognize you by, as opposed to just being a soldier?
I think I don't know how much we have AR in this game.
As much as you want to establish.
Okay, so I would say that I would wear like some sort of like icon, like either just kind of a visual meme that represents on me that like we've worked before. So it could be like, it's like, and it could just be like a yellow triangle or something like that we've identified in the past over. And it doesn't have to be very like you would need to see it like or have seen it on previous jobs, and then it's like kind of like your profile picture, like on a.
Do we add each other to our phone books, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that like how can I say overt. It could just be like kind of like an image for a call sign or something, or like dog tags on a mission. Like,
okay. Then I'll look over and I go, hey, did you call for backup?
No.
I didn't call for backup. But it looks like
we've got it.
Well, hi.
Hi there.
Funny meeting you here.
Yes. I assume that someone assumes that you need help, so I'm here.
All right. As long as our profit doesn't change, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody else wants to send more people.
Sure.
Useful people. Then welcome.
And like Worm, what do you imagine Worm looks like, Lee?
That is an excellent question. I had no image at all in mind.
I mean, let's work it out together. I'm imagining a woman, maybe kind of scrawny, like maybe a shaven head, covered in oil and grease all the time from working on all this junk. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works. Yeah, it's somebody like, I think older than any of us, like somebody who's been doing this for a long time and has like lived here long enough and been working here long enough that like to have accumulated junk from several decades.
Mm-hmm. You know, it'd be an interesting reason for having a nickname Worm, because she constantly wears a turtleneck.
Okay.
Like sure. That, like where, yeah. Why? I mean, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think of Worm in a junkyard. It's so fitting, It's like,
yeah, and she's probably she's famous for like crawling through all of this stuff that gets dumped here. Finding all the nooks and crannies of the valuable stuff that can be pulled out. So she pokes her head out of like almost literally out of one of the engines of the helicopter, and she goes, "Hey, what's up? Hey Lee, if you go out, could you pick me up some Twinkies? Maybe at the Quick Way if you get a chance."
I mean, we're headed out to out to the waist. I don't think you want any Twinkies from there.
Oh, I definitely want Twinkies. I don't care where they're. You know how the way Quickway works. Wherever you go, they're always the same, always delicious.
That's true. If there's any, yeah, there probably is a quick lay in the waist.
Could be. All right, so we're going to move into like where we kind of left off last time, which is going into the legwork phase. So then in the legwork phase, there can be basically, you pretty much just think about what your character would want to know or figure out before you actually move into what we call the action phase. The action phase is where you're going to actually infiltrate or attack or however it is you're going to try to accomplish your mission. When you actually get into the meat of that, that's where we're going to enter the action phase. So the legwork phase is all the stuff you do before that to kind of get yourself ready. And in the course of legwork phase, you can buy things, you can learn things, you can research, you can assess things, you can infiltrate other locations, you can crack computers, you can, talk to your contacts. There's a whole host of things you can do. And what you're hoping will happen through legwork phase is like you'll gain information and get stuff you think you might need, but you also will gain a couple resources that we will track. One's called Intel, and the other's called Gear. And Intel is they're both these abstract representations of the stuff you've accumulated that you can, during the mission, say, I'm going to go ahead and use an Intel here and explain to me, oh, this is what I learned off screen that will help me in this moment. And it'll give you a +1 on a roll. A piece of gear, similarly, it's something that you can just sort of like create on the fly, something that you feel that realistically you might have given, the fictional positioning of your character and what you've done, something that you might be able to use at that particular moment that will help you. It won't give you a +1 or anything, but it might allow you to do something that otherwise you wouldn't be able to do. Maybe if you're trying to get off a building, you're like, well, this is the moment I pull out, I'm going to expend a gear, I'm going to pull out that grappling hook that I obviously packed into my bag, and I'm going to shoot that over to the next building and rappel over or swing over to the next building, something like that. So before I go too far, though, I do think, Kincaid, do you have a start of mission move? I think the soldier has something like that.
I think so. Is it?
I think it's, I love it when a plan comes together.
Okay.
At the start of a mission, you roll edge. On a 10+, you gain 3 hold. 7 to 9, you gain 1 hold. During the mission, actually, what we can do is you can push on your moves too on your character sheet. If you push the broadcast button, it'll kick the text right out to the chat so we can all see it. So there it is. And each hold you have can allow you to do. You can spend a hold to have a piece of gear that you need right now. Or you can spend a hold to appear in a scene where you are needed right now. So you can kind of do it, and then we'll create the fiction to, allow it, I guess, or to explain why suddenly you have this gear, or suddenly you appear in the helicopter when you were, last we knew, you were 10 miles away or something.
It's that grappling hook, man. It's always exactly. That grappling
Yep.
hook.
So go ahead and roll that. So roll edge.
Okay.
So on your character sheet, next to the stat edge, there's like a little 20-sided diagram. Just click that. It'll say, do you want to add any modifiers? Say no, and then submit it. It shows your picture, and you got a
8.
3+3 and a +2 for edge, your best stat. So you end up with an 8. So make a note. And this game has a lot of holds, a lot of +1 forwards. So I would suggest you each keep a little piece of paper with your holds and stuff sitting next to you. I'll try to remember them also. So Kincaid has 1 hold on I love it when a plan comes together. I love it when a plan comes together. And like we said, when you get into the action, or actually at any point, you can spend that if you want. You have another move called Here's the Plan. It's not really a start of mission move, but what that represents is at some point, really it's up to you at what point you want to do it. you will have a scene where you'll sit down with the other two and you'll be like, all right, here's the plan. I'm going to do this. Lee, you're going to do this. Mac, you're going to do this. And as long as they follow the plan, or as long as you follow the plan that's been, established, they'll get a +1. They'll get a +1 ongoing, and until they miss or they do something that goes off the plan. Okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of like I said, that's not really a start of mission. At some point, whenever you lay that out there, that's where we'll establish that. I don't think you even roll for that.
Oh, really?
No, you just get it.
I love
Yeah,
moves like that.
Yeah, you're a tactical genius. You just lay out what everybody should do, and everybody gets benefits because of it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table, and we're going to see what each of you want to do, and as someone describes themselves doing something on the legwork phase, if somebody else is like, yeah, I think I would be part of that, feel free to jump in and say, I'm with you on that, or I'm doing that. That's important, because if you want to be able to help, we're going to have to validate that maybe you would be there fictionally, have some reason that you'd be able to help them. So as we established in the beginning, I'm going to pick on Bethany today. So Bethany, what do you think Lee might do to get ready for this job? And you can pass if you have nothing.
I would like to I'd like to acquire something I think of like similar to night vision goggles, but not night vision goggles. Something to pick up say like metallic items or something like that from a distance.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. So what you do then is you're going to declare a contact. So if you guys look at the moves and mechanics folder on Roll20, I think it's the second, basic moves 2. If you open that up, one of the moves, the very first move, in fact, is called declare a contact. So you get, once per mission, you can create a contact, somebody that supplies you with either information or gear or does something for you, or someone you can hire. So you're looking to buy goggles from somebody. So tell me, who is this person? What's their name? What do we know about them? And what is it that you owe them or that they owe you? Why does the contact owe you a favor, or why do you owe them a favor? And it can be anybody that we've already created too. It doesn't have to be someone brand new.
Right. I forgot about what do we got here? Let's make use of some of these NPCs we've come up with. People.
See, Mac, we know, has a friend, Liam Caulfield, who's a fixer. Juan Gustavo is someone that's hunting him. He's the head of Quickway Security. And we've got Lee, you've got Worm. And you've got, I don't know if you'd want to go to them, but they're hostile to you, but there are the chosen kids out there.
Okay, maybe I'll declare a new one, actually.
Okay.
Let's see. What's a good, ridiculous name?
And we got random tables if you want those too.
I'm looking at a random table right now.
Okay.
So it's probably a different one. Oh, okay. This is Fat Unicorn.
Fat Unicorn. I love it. Yep. Tell me a little bit about Fat Unicorn.
Let's see. I mean, obviously he's got a lot of stuff. Probably not the ridiculous piles of junk that Worm has, but like actual working things.
Sort of like a tech of some sort.
Yeah. I think I probably know him via Worm, because like this is who gets the stuff that gets pulled out of like this is the still useful computer bits. And I think he like runs sort of a pawn shop slash secondhand slash buy things of questionable legality sort of shop.
Is he black market, you know, legal, or some mixture of the two?
It's a mixture of the two. Yeah. I
Sure.
mean, you could get things that are completely legal there. You can get things that are kind of a gray area, like, supposed to be registered, still is registered to somebody. And you can get just actual contraband that who knows where he got it.
So I'm guessing Fat Unicorn is fat. Why are they called unicorn, or what is it about them that led to this nickname or name, I guess?
He can get a hold of stuff that like nobody can. It's things that like maybe people went to 5 or 6 other people and are kind of convinced that this thing doesn't even really exist. It's like a unicorn. It's it's just mythical. Yeah.
Okay. So you walk into Fat Unicorn's shop, and he's there, and there's several, like, I'm imagining it's not in like the downtown, but it's in the midtown. It's very crowded and congested outside, and you go in, and there's quite a few customers, kind of poring over various, electronics, that are incredibly cheap, compared to a lot of other shops. And Fat Unicorn's there, and I imagine a very large black man, bald-headed, with probably cyber eyes. He's got these eyes to help him, do very fine electronics work. And he's sitting there, and he's like soldering some sort of like computer chip thing, and he says, Lee, so good to see you. Come in, come. And he stands up, slowly, because he's so bulky, and he gives you this huge hug.
Uh-huh.
Is Lee a large person, a small person?
No, kind of small and scrawny.
Yeah. So he engulfs you, and he says, come back here. And he says, Jeremiah, watch the shop. And he brings you into the back room, and he sits down on this dilapidated couch, and he says, well, what can I do for you? You always come to me for something. What is it you need?
Yeah. I need kind of like those binoculars, that to see in UV and infrared. And I know I saw something somewhere that like if you pointed at light, it shows you the spectrum. I need something like that, because I'm going to be looking for something in like this just wasteland and just small things. So I want something that if the material is different from anything around it, it should stand out a bit.
Something has sort of an ER, electromagnetic kind of reader.
Yeah.
Also maybe some sort of magnification on it.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Okay. We're going to roll something here in a second, but let's kind of figure out what this device is in mechanical terms. There's a folder called Equipment in Roll20, and one of the pages is called Weapons and Gear. I think maybe let's look there. Towards the bottom, after all the weapons stuff, I think it does have something here about goggles, vision enhancing devices. Basic models have 1 or 2 tags. More advanced models can have more. Available tags: thermographic, light amplification, magnification, recording, flare compensation. So it's not on there, but I think that's perfectly reasonable to have some sort of like, you said something about like it picks up metals, like some sort of magnetism or something.
The thing is that if you point it at a light, it'll show you or like the spectrum is different depending on what kind of light bulb you're looking at. Something like that. But it would get like light reflecting off of something as well.
Okay.
Wish I remembered
So
the name.
yeah, if you think of it, but for now, maybe I'll call it electromagnetic reader or something like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So goggles, electromagnetic reader, and you can get a second sort of the basic model. So maybe magnification, you said. So even like on just visual, it can still be used to, look like with a binocular kind of effect. Okay, so that's a basic item. So I think that will cost you 1 cred before we roll. It might cost more depending on how you roll. So you're going to be committing at least 1 cred to get this from him. So we're going to go ahead and roll the dice. And this is again a basic move. This is called. This is on the basic move 1 or the first basic move handout. This is called hit the street. When you go to a contact for help, roll style.
Style. Where's style? Let's see. Okay, 0. So
Okay, very nice. All right, so when you roll a 10 plus, basic moves, hit the street, 10 plus, you get a little something extra. You can choose either intel or gear. Which would you like? He gives you what you want, and you also get a little extra.
I would like intel. I'm real curious about what this group is that the cops had a shootout with out there.
Sure. The intel is just kind of abstract. Like, we won't establish what it is.
This is just
told
intel.
you.
That's right. Yeah.
So later on, you might be like,
Okay.
Fat Unicorn told me that this gang always uses their right hands or something, like to validate, what you learned from Fat Unicorn. But for now, we'll just give you a point of intel on the main screen here. So we've gone from 0 to 1. You have your goggles. So on your equipment sheet, I think it's under other equipment, put down, goggles, electromagnetic reader, and magnification. Yep. And I think if you want to learn more about, what this gang is, you might, I would say you would have to go to another contact, but you can only do 1 permission. So you're kind of stuck that route, but maybe you can access a computer somewhere and do research, or ask one of the other guys, to see who they know that might know about the gang. Speaking of which, let's go to Mac. Mac, what would you like to do? Oh, no, actually, was I going Mac next or was I going Blaze? Whoever's ready, Mac or Blaze, jump in.
I'll go.
Okay.
What I would like to do is I would like to investigate the cops.
Okay.
I'd like to find out if they were local, if they've got a local office that they're working from. Was this the entire unit? Things like that.
Okay.
I'd like to help out on that. Just
Sure.
Yeah. I guess I'm going to declare a contact for that.
Could be. You can create a contact. It sounds like somebody that might know that.
I'm actually going to declare contact in a hacker type, and I'm just going to call him Myst, M-Y-S-T.
Okay.
And he's one of those guys that just, if you're ever going to have a trivia team, he's the guy that you go to. And he just knows lots of things. And I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can find out some more information on this.
Sure. Do you contact Myst electronically, physically? What do you think?
He's one of those folks that you contact him electronically, but you have to follow a couple different tricky steps to actually make the connection work.
Sure.
It's things like, you have to go to the local newsstand, pick up one of the rare newspapers or new magazines that's still out there, and enter the number on the bottom of page 7, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So for me, I guess the thing is I'm going out to, a newsstand or something, trying to find the right issue and make the initial connection.
Sure. Is Myst the kind that you would actually talk to about what you need, or would you once you get that information, go through all the steps, would you electronically request it and just get it,
It's more, hey, I got something crazy going on here. Can you help me pull this information?
Sure.
He's not necessarily the one to ask about it, but he might
Sure.
if he hears something later on. So that's one of those where he won't ask today, but it could come back later.
Okay. So let's say, like you said, you've gone to the right, newspaper stand, and you've gotten the Obscuro News, bulletin, and you've gone to page 23, and you've looked at the crossword, and you see, like the crossword clue for 7 across is, happens to be like Raymond Chandler or something is the answer. So you know that you need to go to the library and you need to get a Raymond Chandler book and look at chapter 7 and the 7th word, and then you go to that street, whatever that is. Maybe it's like, Handler Street, and there's a noodle stand there, and there's all these people are jostling you as you and Kincaid walk up to this noodle stand. And Kincaid, you're kind of out in the street. Do you still wear all your tactical garb, or you kind of dress down or put like a coat over it or something?
It's more like there's the fake like duffel bag or something that I just sling over the. It's like, on close inspection, you probably notice that there's a gun there, but like,
sure,
it just looks like some sort
right.
of sling bag of some sort.
You probably, I guess, more I'm imagining, like there are, wherever you go in the Sprawl, as long as you're in the mid city or the downtown, especially, you're going to run into cops. There's always patrolling cops. And if they see somebody walking around in paramilitary garb, they're going to hassle you pretty badly, right? So I guess, how do you cover that up, or do you dress differently when you're out in the city?
I open all the zippers, so it's more like a style choice than actual military wear. I guess it's
Okay.
like, yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
Maybe that's not enough. We'll see.
Dress it up or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind. If somebody rolls a 6 or less, that gives me something to work with.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
But for now, that sounds good. All right. So, and Mist is there. Have you actually seen Mist before? I guess probably you have.
Oh yeah. I mean, pretty much my entire network goes back to boarding school. It's one of those where just a bunch of people that knew each other but didn't really trust each other.
Sure.
And
Mist,
shared life experience.
What's Mist look like, you think?
Mist is actually about 5'6", about 130 pounds, blonde hair that he wears down over his face. It's one of those where when he's online, he's got a very deep voice, but in person, it's not very deep at all. He's a normal person, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit greasier, but he's basically, you take a normal person and you dial it back a quarter.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see that there's an empty chair next to him, and there's a bottle of a bowl of noodles sitting there and a glass of sake, and he taps the chair for you to sit down next to him, and he says, "What's with the soldier boy?"
Oh, Kincaid, Mist, Kincaid.
Is he cool?
Yeah, he's cool.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I try to be.
So
you're looking, you need me to hack into the cops?
I just, I pull some information, find out what's out there. Don't necessarily have to go, if you have to, but, it could just be general knowledge out there on the server. Just, hopefully it's easy. I hope I'm not asking you for a ton, but just want to find out about them. Just how many there are, what the general reputation is. Are they normal? Are they better? Are they worse? Are they known for anything? New guys, old guys, that sort of thing. Just nothing crazy. don't put yourself out. Don't put yourself in danger. But just, see what's there.
He says, "You remember the bank? You remember the bank account, right? Where to deposit the cred?
I remember the bank account.
Okay.
Mhm.
Enjoy the noodles."
Mhm.
And he steps up and walks away, and he says, "I'll transmit it to you soon."
All right.
And he looks at Kincaid, and he just kind of shakes his head a little bit, and he walks off. And you too, go ahead and roll Hit the Streets. That uses style.
All right.
Can I help at that?
Yes, you can. You can declare afterwards if it's needed.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll play it that way. You don't have to. We've already established you're there, so that's good. But you don't need to roll the dice until we know if he actually needs it or not.
Cool.
So that's that. There we go.
All right, that's pretty good. So an 8 helping raises it by 1, so you can't get him to the 10 plus. So we won't bother with the helping. So on an 8, I think you got some choices to make.
Mhm.
On Hit the Street, on a 7 plus, you get what you want, but you have to choose 2 from a list. Your request is going to cost you extra. So in this case, it would cost 2 cred rather than 1. Your request is going to take some time to put together. Your request is going to attract unwanted attention, complications, or consequences. Your contact needs you to help them out with something. If you turn them down, take -1 ongoing until you make things right.
So I have to take 2 of those.
You have to take 2. Yep.
I'm assuming he's going to want to help him out with something.
Okay.
And the other one is it's going to take a little time, which is fine because we don't need it this second anyway.
Sure. Okay. Let me scribble that down. Missed report.
And I tell him I'm sure I'm absolutely going to help you out. It's a way for me to earn that credit back.
Right. I'm going to say he hasn't told you yet what he needs help with because we kind of established he just kind of walked away. We'll bring that out a little later when he gets back to you.
Mhm.
Contact needs help. Okay. But you did succeed. So we will come back to that when in the fiction it makes sense. Sounds like it's going to take a little while.
Mhm.
Spend a cred. Same with you, Lee. When meeting a contact, make sure you take off a cred. Kincaid, what would you like to do in the legwork phase?
So in the legwork phase, I want to find out more about the environment that we're going in. So like, what's our best way in and what's our best way out if things go sour?
Okay. How do you think you go about figuring that out?
I think it's more trying to pay off somebody who has access to records. So instead of like breaking into the place, finding out who has knowledge of the area and then either paying them or owing them a favor.
If it's a physical location, I can do lots of things.
Ooh.
Yeah, you have like sort of. Didn't you take a move like scoping the joint or something like that? Is that what they call it?
I've got covert
Casing
entry, cat burglar, and case the joint. All 3 can do things.
Oh, so we could assess the place before
you jump in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my god! Yeah,
I think fictionally, I think once we go around and everyone's done everything they would kind of do in the city, or on the computers and stuff, then we'll move to the site. And if you guys want to do that kind of assessing, you certainly can before we actually enter the action phase.
So I'll be very honest about my intentions here. I want to know what our challenges could be because I do have a move about recruiting and I want to cover our bases in terms of talent or skill on the table.
Well, Lee was talking about trying to figure out more about whatever this gain is, or maybe you can talk to somebody that might be able to figure out about the gain or what the police already know about. I mean, I guess before I forget, Mac, what is it exact? How did you phrase what you're looking to get from Mist?
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for information about the facility, who works there, what their general reputation is. New people come in, new people come out. If they're known for anything big, how many of them there are. You know,
And
just
when you
based
say people, do you mean the cops
cops.
or
Yeah.
the cops? Okay, so you want to know about the police unit involved.
Yeah, I don't need to know like the home address of all the cops, but
Sure, sure.
there are 6 of them that generally got a good, you know, they're seen as really dirty, or you know they got caught up with a beating last year, that sort of thing. Like, what's the vibe about them?
Sure. Okay, so we already know Mac and Kincaid was there, so you already know that you got in some information coming about the cops. Is there anything else you would want to learn about?
And you said there was a gang. Sorry.
Yeah, you guys were told by your fixer, or Lucius Warbaby in your case, that there was a shootout between a gang of thugs and the police out at this site in the waste last night.
Okay, then I need to learn about this gang and what kind of firepower they have and what kind of backing they have.
Okay. So, do you want to do that? You can do that through like getting access to like a computer somewhere,
Sure.
or you can do you could get a hacker to check things out for you, or
How about you're on the street instead of a hacker, we talk to somebody.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so you're going to establish a contact then, it sounds like.
Yep.
Tell us who your contact is.
Do you have a random table about a name?
Sure.
I'm terrible with names.
Do you want this person? I got several different tables. We've got hackers. We've got mercenaries. We've got fixers. We've got caddies.
Fixers, private eyes. Oh man, social workers.
Okay, I don't have that, but we'll go. Let's go with
people of the street.
Let's see what we get on the fixer table.
Okay, sounds good.
So roll D100.
Okay. 49.
49 is Mr. Skin.
Ooh, nice.
Mr. Skin is says here it must painfully inject nanites hourly due to congenital illness. Mr. Skin.
That's great. I can just imagine a scene where we're eating ramen and he needs to do that.
Where do you think you meet with Mr.
I'm
Skin?
going to need you to hold this piece of tubing for me.
Exactly. That's great. I actually like some sort of behind a food truck of some sort, like on a corner. Maybe he's having a meal, or I'm thinking of having a meal.
Sure. And Mr. Skin, I'm going to say he's kind of a sleaze. He kind of gets into lots of nasty business all over the city. Some weeks he's a pimp, some weeks he's a pusher, some weeks he's a violent criminal of some sort. But because he gets around so much, and he always stays alive. He knows a lot of people, and he knows a lot of what's going on. So he says, Kincaid, hurry up. I got to get my injection soon. And he's kind of scratching at his skin, and you can see it's like red. It's like blue lines and red and nasty. He doesn't really have much hair. He's a real nasty looking character, tall and skinny, and kind of like nice, but really bright, and he's got like reflective parts of his suit. So the neon lights are going overhead of the spinners, it shines off, and he's glittery sort of. And he goes, yeah. So what do you need, Kincaid?
I need information about a gang shootout in the wastes. There's a facility that's run by Cox, if I remember correctly.
What's that again?
Is it run by Cox?
It's called the Solar Power Farm.
The Solar Power, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes, oh yeah, I heard about that. You got the creds?
I always have creds.
Excellent. Let's roll the dice and let's see what he says from there.
Okay.
So same thing. You're going to hit the streets. You're going to roll with your style.
How much? Oh, I got a 7.
Just got it. Just made it.
Ooh.
All right. Same deal. He's going to answer you, but you got to choose 2 from that pick list. It's going to cost you extra. Take some time. it's going to attract unwanted attention, or they're going to need something from you.
What was the first one? Was the first one it's going to cost extra?
You can look at this too. It's on the
Oh, yeah, I should.
handouts, the
Yes,
moves, basic moves. They are, your request is going to cost you extra, which means it'll cost you 2 creds rather than 1. Your request is going to take some time to put together. Your request is going to attract unwanted attention. Your contact needs help with something.
Okay, let's make it interesting. Our contract is going, my request is going to attract unwanted attention, and the second one is he needs help with something.
Okay. So I think what happens is he looks around, and like you said, you're kind of like stepped into an alley, and he's got like a takeout container of some like reprocessed synthesized proteins, and he goes, yeah, I heard about that. It's so psychos, the Jundo. And you know that's this gang of human supremacists. They're really active in this whole thing of working against the Nexus replicants. It's spelled Jundo. And it's Japanese. You know it's Japanese for purity. And he goes, yeah, so psychos, they were out there. I didn't hear anything about any cops, though. You sure there was cops out there? I didn't hear anything about that.
Okay.
And then like this big guy, this big say it's like I want to say Samoan, but how do you, is it Maori,
Polynesian, yeah.
Polynesian. So these big guys, you know, with real tribal tattoos, like 2 real big guys come walking up, and they say, Mr. Skin, we're here. We need you didn't pay us for your injections. It's time to pay. And one of them pulls out a knife, and Skin says, Kincaid, come on, you got to help me, man. These guys are going to cut me.
All right. So I casually try to step between Mr. Skin and the 2 Samoans, and I actually, yeah. So not so subtly, I take out a grenade, and I'm like, clearly, this is not a conversation you want to have here.
Okay. Do you intend, if these guys continue to move towards you and Mr. Skin, do you intend to throw the grenade, or are you bluffing?
No, I'm bluffing.
Okay. So this is a move called Fast Talk.
That's good.
You're looking to basically, it sounds like you're getting them to back off under threat of you blowing everyone up with a grenade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair. Yeah.
So this also uses style.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so I will roll. I just want to get it on the thing. Let's play to find out what happens. Oof.
Get that 5. Okay.
Fail.
All right. What happens is these guys go, they look each other, and they say something in their native language to each other, and they smile, and they sort of like step apart from each other, and they go to rush you, but at that moment, a police spinner comes down and shines its lights right down this alley where all of you guys are, and a sort of a voice comes over the, intercom, or not intercom, but like a whatever, the voice comes from the spinner, and it's this is the LAPD. Identify yourselves and stand down. And these two guys take off. Mr. Skin takes off down the alley, and you're left standing there. What do you do?
Well, I think the best strategy is to GTFO. I also try to run away.
Sure. Okay. I'm not even going to have you roll. We'll end it there. But what that happens is that you still have a situation where Mr. Skin needs help. Okay, so Mr. Skin's problem is not resolved. So let's see. Let me make a note of this. Must help him with this gang. Roll a D100 for me. We'll figure out who this gang is that's after him.
Okay. Come on. Oh, 65.
65. The instant revolvers.
Nice.
So he needs help with the instant revolvers. So you, on your little sheet of remembering things, you might want to write down you have -1 ongoing on hit the streets until you help Mr. Skin.
Ooh.
But he did tell you about the gang. And your second thing, you're drawing attention. Okay, so you also, the instant revolvers, I'm going to start a threat clock with them. I'll do it during the break. We're going to take here in a second. So you've gained some heat with the instant revolvers and also with the police. The police partially identified you during that interaction. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. You guys think more about anything else you'd like to do in the city, and then it sounds like the plan is you're going to do whatever else you feel like you need to do or want to do. Then we're going to move to the site, and it sounds like some of you guys might want to do like checking out the site before you jump into the action once you get there. One thing too to think about, maybe this is a good thing for Lee to think about, is how you're going to get there. This site is about 10 miles out into the waste. So there's about 15 miles of city that you can move through. That's no problem. But that 10 miles moving through the waste is going to be something I'm going to ask you about to get to this site. Okay. There are roads that go out there, like 2-track dusty roads, or maybe broken down old highways, whatever we imagine. So there are certainly ways to get there, but it's up to you how you want to actually do that. So think about that. Think about whatever else you want to do legwork, and I'll see you in 10 minutes at 9:42. Okay.
All right. See you then.
Hey Blaze, what was the second thing you chose on talking to Mr. Skin? You took the -1 ongoing. He needs help. But what was the second thing? I forgot.
It attracts unwanted attention.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I thought I messed that up, but yep, that's what I was hoping. Okay, cool. So far we got Fat Unicorn. We've got Mist, Mr. Skin, the Instant Revolvers, Church of Everlasting Prophet. We got lots of good stuff we're adding in already. All right, everybody ready? Okay, so we've gone around once. Let's go back the same and see if Bethany, Lee, does Lee have anything else that he wants to do before you guys head out into the waste?
No, actually, I think I'm good.
Okay. And if you think of something as we go around, feel free to jump in. One good thing, if you guys are thinking, well, what can I do, or what are the options? Like I said, it's pretty much anything. But if you want to get some primers in your brain, you can look at the basic moves and kind of think about how they might fit into trying to figure something out. But so far, you guys are doing all the right things. You're talking to people. You've all spoken to your contacts. So, Mac, do you have anything else you want to do before you head out to the waste?
No, I'm more an on-site person.
Okay, sounds good. And Kincaid.
I'm always worried about not going in with the right anything. So I'm going to ask my colleagues, like, do we need contractors? Do we need anything before we go in?
Okay.
And
I
sound a bit nervous when I say that.
You're talking to the other player characters?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you guys come together. Where do you meet together as you're going through, going about through the city? Kincaid, where are you guys meeting?
I think after our little jaunt with the cops, we're looking at something more indoor, like some sub-basement of a club or something.
Okay. So there's a heavy beat going of some dance club. You guys are down in sort of like the quiet bar underneath. And you're wondering if there's anything else you need to do. Doesn't sound like anybody has any ideas. Sounds like they're all ready.
Sounds good. Okay. Then I feel more confident in our course of action.
Sure. Lee, how do you think you guys travel? Like I was saying, it's about 10 miles of waste that you have to go through to get out. It's this sort of orange waste, right when you're in the city itself, it's very wet. In fact, all these scenes I should have mentioned, it's raining constantly, as of course it is in Blade Runner. It's always dark and it's always raining. But as you leave the city, I don't know what it is, whether it's future weather, what's the El Nino, like some crazy El Nino that causes, like, I guess it is. LA is kind of this way.
Rain falls in one place.
All the rain falls in one spot, only
rains.
within like 5 miles of the ocean, but it rains constantly there. And if you move a little bit outside, I mean, you are going up in altitude. I don't know if you guys have been to LA much, but it's down, on the water, and there's a lot. Very quickly, there's a lot of mountains and hills and stuff around it. So anyways, that's amplified 10 times, because as you move away from the city and get out into the waste, it's this dry, dusty, wasteland. So Lee, how are you guys traveling?
I think we're just gonna fly. I think that's what I don't think any of us wants to spend any more time going through this area than we have to.
Sure.
Yep.
So you guys travel to the junkyard. Worm's got everything ready for you. It's fueled up. The machine guns are loaded, and you take off, the three of you. And as you're flying out over the city, like I said, it's a lot of like where you're taking off from. It's a lot of housing structures. Some of them are really big, like real big, like like 100-story housing structures, that were built, to try to keep the poor people together and keep them pacified, so to speak. And you move out of the city, out past the edge of the sprawl, and into this dusty wasteland. And Mac, you get a message. I don't know. Do you guys have smartphones? Do you have like head-up display? How do you get like information in this alternate universe that we are playing in?
I have all those things.
Okay.
I've got a lot of zipper pockets with lots of things. I guess the question is, who's it from?
It's from Miss, so it's on an encrypted channel.
Mm-hmm. So
You've got to put in some mysterious code that you've jumped through all the hoops to know it, but you're getting this message from Mist.
I'm assuming it's a phone he gave me. So
okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavily encrypted phone. It only can connect to Mist. Probably self-destructs. After one use.
It's an old Nextel phone.
Okay.
That somehow still works.
Mm-hmm. And is that a vid phone or is it just voice only?
No, it's got a little bit of video imaging. Not terribly, but enough.
So you flip it open and there's blonde Mist,
mm-hmm.
and
at this point he's got a background and he's got a deep voice changer.
Right. He goes, "Oh, this is Mist.
Yes.
It's a damnedest thing, Mac. I can tell you about the cops that are going out there, but there were no cops there last night.
What?
There's no record of any cops being out there last night. They must have heard about it, and now they're interested in it, but there was no cops out there. Who told you that?"
Just, how jobs come. Don't really know at this point. Just, we didn't know. It was an anonymous job, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a couple weeks, so yeah, it's an anonymous job.
Yeah. He goes, "I know it happens, but why would they lie about the cops? Watch your ass. Look, I did find out about the team they're sending out there. They've got some patrol units out there right now. They've got a team, four uniformed policemen, sidearms, maybe some shotguns in their cars, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a forensics truck that should be arriving there. Maybe it's there already. Heavily armored forensics truck. They drove out there. Off-road kind of deal. There's a team, a four-person forensics team to do the examination, the evidence, gather the evidence, take pictures, all that kind of thing. Sounds like that's who's on site. They've got other units ready to move in if needed. Try not to raise any alarms. Seems like the Blade Runners are interested in this for some reason. So watch out for any spinners come flying by. But right now, it sounds like that's all that's out there.
Sounds like it's enough, but thanks for the heads up. And we'll be in touch about that other thing.
One thing.
Yeah.
One of those forensics people, a woman named Gwen Harris, Officer Gwen Harris. I guess I kind of fucked up. She picked up me hacking their site. She got some ice on me. She might have started to get a track on where I might be.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to get her computer.
Okay.
Break it, steal it, whatever you need to do. I need you to get her deck, get her cyber deck. She's going to be one of the members of that team, probably the one that will be running the computers in their forensics group.
Okay, I can do that.
And mechanically, that's the -1 ongoing. So that's she has something, or he has something that he needs you to do, and that's what it is. Okay.
All right.
So you guys fly. In the helicopter, it's probably not more than a couple minutes through the waste, and Then you see from afar, this is the solar farm. And what it is it's several square miles of these solar panels that are arrayed in these sort of circular patterns. And all of the solar panels are all automated, or I guess they're automated to catch the sunlight, even as out here it's pretty cloudy, as you can probably tell from the picture, but to catch what sunlight there is and reflect it towards this sort of central spire. And what it does is that reflected sunlight heats up. I think it's actually salt. I think it's molten salt, I guess, is what it heats up, and that creates electricity. It's used to create electricity. And there's several square miles of these fields, of these arrays, these solar power arrays. And the site that you're looking for is, I'm imagining it being right here in the middle. You see where I'm painting? Sort of like in between several of these arrays, there's this open area. And there's roads that lead into it, dirt roads that kind of like probably like from each of the three directions between the arrays. And it's rocky, and it's, you know, it's not a hill necessarily, but there's a lot of cover. It's pretty rough in there. And in the center area, there are, well, let me back up for a second. Your helicopter's pretty loud and obviously. Would you fly over this? Would you park somewhere else?
No, stop somewhere else and, you know, kind of just creep up through these, or like at least on the other side of one of these arrays.
Sure.
Keep at least one in between.
Right.
In the site.
Yeah, that makes good sense. About how far would you have parked your helicopter away?
Trying to think of like how far it would be easily visible.
It is pretty, like I said, it's pretty misty and dusty out here. I mean, you could, the loudness, the visual isn't so much a problem.
Mhm.
The loudness more of your helicopter, that's more of an issue.
Yeah. So I think
I would say half a mile, a quarter mile is probably okay.
Yeah, let's say half a mile. That seems about, yeah.
Okay, about half a mile. All right. So you parked about half, you land about half a mile away. And it sounds like Kincaid and Mac, you're definitely planning to move towards the site. Lee, do you stay with the helicopter, or do you want to go with them?
I will go with them.
Okay. And you have remote control of your helicopter.
Yeah.
So, you know, as long as you have that signal, I'm going to say
that's.
It doesn't say how far. So I think that's kind of up to us. But I'd say probably a good kilometer to a mile is probably within range. Does that sound reasonable?
That seems, yeah, seems about right.
Okay. So the three of you move through this array of solar panels, and what these look like on the ground level is like this. This thing actually exists in the real world. It's pretty fascinating. There's only one of them, though. There's only one of these circular arrays. It's in Morocco, I think, and it creates something like 74 mega super bytes of energy, or you know, just some ridiculous amount of energy. And the biggest problem with it is how much water you have to use to keep the panels clean, but they're working on ways to like try to like get around that. But anyways, it's really fascinating. But like I said, this is what it kind of looks like on the ground level. So you're moving through this, and you get to this site, and like I said, it's sort of like I'm imagining you guys sort of on the up a couple hundred meters away, looking over sort of the lip or the edge of one of these arrays down into this bowl-ish kind of area, maybe a bit of a depression with some of this rocky area around it. And in the center of where these three dirt tracks meet, there is an open kind of area where there's two heavy off-road pickup trucks that look like they had some sort of like weapon, like a mounted weapon on the beds, like a machine gun or something. One of these trucks looks like it's exploded and it's burned out. The other one's just kind of sitting there. There is kind of on the other side of this clearing, there is a sort of like kind of a wonky kind of like minivan, very commercial, very normal kind of like minivan kind of deal. And that also is exploded and burned out. Then there are 2 police cars, patrol cars that are parked at sort of on the opposite and sort of like if those 2 vehicles, if the trucks are on the west side and the van's on the east side, then the patrol cars are on the north and the south side, and they look kind of like this. And then sort of in the center of this area is this fairly large armored truck that looks like this. And the back of it is open, and it's clear that this truck has sort of a cabin area for probably a good 4 or 5 people in the front part of it. And then it has a long back section, a transport area in the back, and the armored doors in the back of the truck are open, and a woman is there in sort of police garb, sort of like an inspector or maybe they probably like work jumpsuits that say like LAPD on the back of them in big letters. So there's a woman standing there and she's typing away at a computer. And then there are two groups of paired uniformed cops that are sort of walking around the perimeter, just kind of looking around and kind of like they're not like on like red alert or anything, but they got their eyes open and they're looking around, and they've got sort of like the cops in Blade Runner sort of look like a mixture of like bondage guys mixed with Gestapo. They've got a very Nazi-ish kind of feel to them. So they've got that garb on, and they've just got let's see, what's our clock at? I don't think we increased the legwork clock, so they've just got sidearms and maybe like truncheons, and then there are 3 other technician cops that are gathering up gear and evidence around the site, and 2 of them seem to be putting like weapons and pieces of clothing into long heavy metal containers that have like a latch that you can close, and it says on them evidence, LAPD evidence. And there's about 3 of these containers, and they're putting various things into these containers. And then there's the 4th forensic technician is going around with like a digital camera, a high-tech digital camera, setting up lights and taking pictures and measuring, distances from like spots on the truck, and to there's 5 bodies sort of spread around this central area. 5 clearly dead bodies. You see sort of dried blood around them. You can't get a real good look at them from the distance you're at, although any of these things can be enhanced by making some rolls. Any questions about just the layout and what you see here before we get into what you're going to do? Okay. So I know Mac and Kincaid had ideas of things that they wanted to do. Let's start with you, Mac. What would you like to do? We're still, until you actually enter into this area and do something, where you might get noticed or whatever, you're still in the legwork phase, okay?
We know exactly where the laptop is, right? We see that in relation to where we are.
Right. It's right pretty much in the center of this whole area where that truck is, sort of like sitting, they've got the doors to that truck are open, and the woman is there working at the laptop, sort of, she's got it set down right inside the truck there. as she's standing outside the truck tapping on it.
Okay. I'm going to keep my eye on that specifically.
Sure.
There's no physical locations here. It's just
Physical evidence, you mean?
no. I mean, so they're still in the process of gathering the evidence.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. They're picking up. Several of them are picking up, looks like I said, like weapons, maybe like blood samples, pieces of clothing, and putting them in these 3 large containers, these heavy plastic containers. And then there's one taking pictures, and then presumably Gwen Harris is tapping away at the computer. And then there's 2 pairs of patrol cops walking around the perimeter.
Okay. And where do we see do we see where those plastic things are going in and out of?
Yeah, we can say that you stay there long enough to see that once one of them looks like it's full, the 2 of them, one on each end, they latch it and close it up, and they pick it up and they put it into the truck.
Okay.
And then they go about, working at the other 2 containers. They also, sounds like a few minutes have passed. So they also start to, once the 4th forensics person with the camera has taken a whole bunch of pictures of the dead people, or one of them at least, they pull out a body bag and start to move the body of this person into a body bag.
I look over to the people I'm with and I'll say, at this point, do we just wait for them to load it up and pick them off on the way back to town?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more they pick off the ground, the less they could recreate later if we take everything.
That is true. I would like to try to get a better look at either one of these vehicles in the firefight or the bodies. I got a piece of gear for that, so.
Sure. Yeah. So what we'll say is that, your piece of gear allows you to assess that from here rather than having to sneak in first. Because you are, like I said, you're a couple hundred meters away to safely be out of their perimeter. But since you got that magnification gear, sure. You said you're looking at the trucks. So there's quite a few vehicles actually. So there's 2 pickup trucks. One of them's burnt out and destroyed. The other one looks like it's in good condition. There's the burnt out van. There's the 2 police cars and the police truck. So we'll just say you're checking out the vehicles. Let's roll the dice, and then you can kind of, we'll spell out better what you actually find out. So this is a basic move called Assess. And it uses, I think it's Edge. Basic move. Assess uses Edge, yep.
Okay.
Okay. So on partial hit, you get 1 hold. You can use that hold to ask any of the questions on the pick list, and you get the +1 forward when acting on the answer, or you can bank it for later. I'll tell you before you even ask. I'll tell you what you can see, just without needing to, worry about asking questions. You can tell the vehicles. It's not much more than what I already said, but the pickup trucks are clearly some souped up, heavy duty vehicles, probably designed for driving around in the waste. They've got big tires, big engines, real hardcore chassis. The weapon, the one that's still intact, the weapon you can see in the back, It's not a machine gun. You're not sure what it is. Maybe someone else, or maybe depending on what question you ask, you might be able to ask. But it's a strange weapon you've never seen before. It's some sort of. It's about the size of a machine gun, but it's strange. So off the top, and the pickup trucks, they have sort of like a camouflage paint job on them. But yeah, so do you want to ask your question? Sure.
Yeah. There's 3 possible ones here. That where can I gain the most advantage?
Okay. The cops, they're not very good at their job. The patrol cops, their perimeter is too far away from the site. You very easily, in the darkness, I don't know if it's nighttime or if it's just that mist, that dust that we talked about, but one way or the other, visual sighting is not easy here, and you should be able to slip by them pretty easily, especially with an infiltrator in your crew. So getting past them shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Excellent.
And you got that +1 forward.
Yep.
If you need it, or if it applies.
Cool.
I'm going to make a note of that. Lee +1 forward off assess. Anyone else have anything they'd like to do?
Yes, I'd like to assess. I want to figure out who's driving that vehicle, because instead of destroying it, we might be able to just hijack it, right? It might be a situation where
driving the truck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Same deal. I think let's do an assess roll. So you're going to roll with edge.
Sounds good. And when you assess, yeah, I'll get a +1 on the. Okay, so.
All right. So you got 3 hold.
Nice.
So I'll assume you're kind of like watching the people, the cops, just get a sense of who's responsible for who's the driver, at least, but you might learn more based on the questions you ask.
Okay. Okay, so.
And remember, you don't have to ask them all now. You can hold on to them to when you think you might need to know something more, but it's up to you. You can use them whenever you want.
Okay. Okay, who's the biggest threat in this situation?
As a seasoned professional, competent tactical operator, you don't feel threatened by any of these guys. Like I said, you feel like, in a stand-up fight, maybe the patrol cops might be a tough fight, but you should be able to, Lee and you both recognize you should be able to get past them, no problem. The forensics guys, they're not fighters. They're technicians, they're researchers, they're civvies, basically. So threat-wise, there's nothing here that's very threatening.
Okay.
But we'll give you, if you get into a fight with them, we'll assume you get that +1 forward. You've checked them out enough. You did specifically ask, who's the driver is. I don't know if there's a question there that will capture that on that list. Maybe that would be who or what is in control here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
we'll say that there is one of the technicians, a guy with a big bushy mustache that the others seem to ask questions of, and you see him jump into the front seat at some point to pull out something, So he seems to be in control. He seems to be the leader and probably the driver. We'll say his name is Tex O'Bannon. Officer Tex O'Bannon. Do you want to ask your third thing, or do you want to hold on to that one?
I'm gonna hold off.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else want to do anything?
I would like to case the truck.
Okay. And you have that specific move that gives you extra. Is that how that works for
I just put it
case
up
the joint? Yeah, there it is. When you take time to examine location with security weaknesses, you can exploit roll edge 10 plus, gain 3 intel. And you can spend it in the normal way or spend 1 point to ask. So basically, that's actually a really nice move. You get intel. You can use intel like you normally would to give you +1 forwards later on. Or each point of intel you can use to ask one of those questions that people have been using off the assess list or the research list.
Mhm.
The research move has a separate list of questions. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll that. That again is edge.
Okay.
Seven. So that gives you 1. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep. So you got 1 intel. Do you want to go ahead and take the intel, or do you have a question in mind right now that you want to have answered, either from the assess or the research list?
What's on the research list? Does that give me something like, I don't know, could I duplicate the remote entry?
It's a basic move. If you open those up, it's on the 3rd column. There's
You do have how secure is this? Is X. So
where would I find blank? How secure is blank? Who or what is related to blank? Who owned or employed blank? Who or what is blank most valuable to? What is the relationship between blank and blank? So you can choose from that list or the assess list.
Actually, from the assess list is, how can I hide here? How can I hide in the van?
Okay. If you can sneak up there and you can get Gwen Harris to move away for a short period of time, you should be able to sneak in the van. And there's enough stuff back there. There's enough nook and crannies. You probably could find a dark little corner to put yourself in if you needed to. If you're talking about getting in the back, or are you talking about getting in the front in the
back? I figure Kincaid can probably come up with a plan.
Okay.
We could potentially use the helicopter, and when the van pulled over, I could maybe do something from inside to disable it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. So you'll have that +1 forward when trying to accomplish something around the van or the truck. Okay.
So
Any other? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like the need for an outside distraction to distract Officer or Agent Gwen from the vehicle, maybe like
Yeah.
like a muffler exploding in the distance or something
Could be.
like that.
Sure. He would only need a moment. He's a pro.
All you need, we know her name. There are people milling around. All we need is somebody to call her over somewhere and just not actually be there when she's going to walk over. Who called me? And then that's all it takes. Yeah. If there was one person there, that would be suspicious. If there are 15 people milling around, if somebody goes, "Hey, Gwen, I need you to look at something."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, are you guys ready to move into the action phase and have a plan? All right, so let's, like Mac was suggesting, I think the moment has come for Kincaid to huddle up with the two of you and lay out the plan. Tell everybody what their part of the plan is.
Okay, so I figure that the part of the plan is that we leaving the site with the vehicle. Is that what's going to happen?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to leave the site with the vehicle, which means that we need all the patrol to actually focus on something else, right? So the distraction is We need them to feel enough of the threat that they peel off and go somewhere else. So plan A is to get Mac into the truck. And then second part of the plan is to get Lee to, provide some form of a military distraction, right?
Here's
So-
how strong is your helicopter?
I don't know how strong would a helicopter.
Can it lift
I mean,
it up?
I guess I specified this at the beginning of the session that it's not like it's not like a big one of those big military helicopters. It probably would not lift a vehicle if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking if we get him out of the vehicle, then I can lock the door and then we take off with the
Although
vehicle.
that would be pretty awesome.
Well, it could be as simple. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say it could be simple as just a close run. So you can fly in very close to the ground. None of them are armed with anything heavy, right? So in terms of defense, they can just feel threatened by the fact that the chopper has flown really close to them. And if they see guns on it, then they'll peel off for that because they'll be, they'll feel defenseless in a sense, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw this out there. If I can get in the van, if you guys can cause a ruckus that would cause them to stop the van, get out of the van to confront you, if I can take that opportunity to lock the door, climb into the front seat, and drive the van away, then you get back in the helicopter and meet me down the road.
Sounds good.
And then we don't hurt him. All we do is we leave him standing out in the middle of the road.
Okay. So what we could do is I could rid some grenades to actually blow up the truck that isn't blown up.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should set fire to one of those. Burning the
That's
evidence.
actually-
I would be concerned
I was
about
going to
that.
say one of the things you need to do is if you can't take away the evidence, you need to destroy it. So that pickup truck that's not damaged, that would be something you probably should destroy it for your mission. All right. So Kincaid, go ahead and start over. Lay it out for the
All
two
right.
of them, what their jobs are.
So the plan is to get the truck out of here. So Mac, I need you to go into the truck, actually lock the doors, wait for the signal of the distraction. In this case, the car exploding or the truck exploding. Once it explodes and attracts enough attention, you lock the doors and drive away. During that time, Lee, I need you to get that chopper in the air because we might we'll need to hightail it out of here. I'm going to make sure that I'm near the truck so it actually explodes. All right. So yeah. And then I'll rendezvous back near your chopper and then we'll fly out of here. Our location, do we have what's a good place to bring the truck? Are we just bringing it back to the junkyard or are we going deeper in the waste?
It's up to you. All you know is you need to get it somewhere secure, somewhere where you can transfer it over to your employer.
Do they
Out into the waste is probably not great.
Okay.
You're probably talking about somewhere in the city. It's up to you as to where.
Okay. All right. Is it too late to use a hold to try to get a contact or something?
You all have created a contact already, so you're out of contacts for this mission. But you can do it if you have other assess or research things you want to do.
Yeah, so
you had a hold. What was your hold for?
My hold for I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
If I could spend that to secure a place to put the truck, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Where? Tell me about this place. Where is it, and what's it like?
We could say it's like the give me 1 second. Oh, it's like a loading dock. And in the loading dock, there's you could say that there's a place where people go drop off illicit things. And so they just store things in the back there. And so they give you a locker thing for 24 hours, big enough to put an 18-wheel truck in there. And they expect it to be gone the next day. But what you do in there is your business.
So it's a little bit like a storage facility kind of thing?
A storage facility for illicit goods type of thing.
Okay. And whereabout do you imagine it is in the sprawl?
It's probably it's LA, right? So you're looking near the docks or near I'm not familiar with LA at all. I just know that it's by the ocean, and I assume
have a
that
little bit of a map. Here we go.
Yeah.
So just to put everything in perspective, so the solar farm is here. This purple line is sort of the edge of the sprawl. So it's the solar farm is sort of out in the waste. I have the junkyard about here and sort of the mid sprawl. LAPD and the downtown is down in here.
So I'm thinking like Ventura.
Okay, out that way. Sure.
Yeah.
Sort of on the edge of the sprawl,
Yeah.
but where there's some loading docks, some illicit, smuggling operations going on.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so let me see if I got this, just so we know how mechanically this will work. So sort of like the short take-home message of each of your jobs. Mac, your job is to infiltrate into the truck and get it. Take control of, drive it. Once that opportunity arises. Is that right? And Kincaid, your job is to create a distraction.
Yep.
So Mac can get the truck to you're the distractor. And Lee, what's Lee's job? Would you phrase that?
Lee's the transporter
Pick
to
you
make
up,
sure that
transport
we make
you up?
Yeah. Pick me up and then make sure that we don't she's the backup in case somebody does follow the truck, right?
Right.
We want
Yeah, I was saying, am I also trying to stop the
Stop any
truck?
pursuit. Stop what?
Stop the truck?
Max, the truck that Mac's going to be driving?
Okay, wait. I that was a previous iteration
Yeah.
of the plan. Never mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just kind of running interference in case the cops follow in the patrol car and chase the truck.
You're the eye in the sky.
In
Got it.
case I roll
Cool.
a 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a good question. I had the similar question to what Bethany's touching on. Is the plan for you guys to drive the truck out of here, or are the cops supposed to be driving it out of here, and then you take it over?
I assume that we were driving it.
I figured the plan was I wait in the truck. The cops finish what they're doing. They drive away.
Oh.
Therefore, it's just the cops and me. We figure out some way to get them out of the truck, and then I take the truck and I leave them on foot there. So if I'm hiding in the van, if they get out of the van and go, "What are you guys doing here?" and they're all pointing guns at you guys, I can take that opportunity to steal the van.
Yeah, but I was going to do that by blowing up the
Pickup
Yeah.
truck?
I think with the blowing up the pickup, we can skip the the 2-step
Skip the
hijacking.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to be an artist, I mean, I can
It is an art of its
a
own.
pedestrian plan.
Okay, well, you know
so-
what? Mac is going to be the one that is on the razor's edge. We'll let him decide how he wants to do it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We'll let the artistry play itself out here.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds like a real good plan until the dice are rolled. And so paint the scene once again. It's this dark, dusty, cloudy day/night, and you guys are sort of on the perimeter. Lee, are you leaving to get back into your helicopter? Are you going back to your chopper at this point?
Yeah, I think so. If we need a distraction, it's a good distraction, and if not, I should probably get ready to leave in a hurry.
And we'll assume you guys have at least basic comms, a throat mic or something that allow you within a couple kilometers to contact each other. They're not what's the word I want? They're not encrypted or anything though. So they could be jammed, they could be intercepted. We'll see. You can put that on your shopping list for some time in the future, but for now you have just a basic way to communicate with each other. And we see Kincaid and Mac sort of on the edge of this perimeter. And I think, Mac, this is a good time for you to do your covert move. You're about to enter a secure location, right? I'll broadcast it. Covert entry. When you attempt to infiltrate a secure area alone, are you going to go in alone to start with?
Yep.
Yeah. or even separate from Kincaid. So you're just looking to get past the patrol cops and move towards the truck to start with. Is that kind of the deal?
Yeah, and it depends. It's ideally I'm looking to get past the
Right.
patrol, but there's a chance I can just go all the way to the end zone, depending on how it goes.
And we'll assume we're at that moment now where the cops, they bagged up the 5 bodies. They boxed up the 3 large containers of physical evidence. They've closed, or they've copied all of their digital and all the pictures and stuff onto this computer that Officer Harris has. And Harris is still there. She's kind of like typing away at her computer, but the patrol cops are still patrolling the perimeter, and the other 3 forensics members are just kind of standing, smoking cigarettes or something, kind of a little bit away from the truck. And it's clear that they're ready to wrap up. It's been an hour or 2 that you guys have been observing them. Lee's gone off, sitting in his helicopter, probably starting to fire it up, ready to go. And Kincaid is there observing, and Mac, you descend through the darkness down into this kind of recessed bowl area, moving towards the truck. So go ahead and roll. Covert entry is rolling with cool.
Yes. Now I've got.
And you have a +1 forward from observing. You want to use that here?
Well, I've got +1 forward from observing because I'm following the plan.
That's true.
I get +1 there.
Yep.
Is this me acting under pressure? Because that gives me because my synthetic nerves allow me to get +1 to cool rolls if I do.
Not yet, but you have a stealth suit that does give you another +1, doesn't it?
Yes.
Although I don't think we're going to say for this move, let's just use the +1 forward from the observation and the +1 from following the plan. So we'll give you +2 on this. The stealth suit and the other +1 will apply somewhere else probably.
Okay.
Bam. All right, so you got 10. So that gives you 3 hold. And at any point, you can use that hold to bypass security, bypass a security system or guard, disable a security system you've bypassed, and escape notice. So what you can do, you don't even need to roll now if you want to burn one of those hold to get past these patrol cops and enter, that perimeter, get inside the perimeter, or you can make a roll.
You know what? Let's see. I'm going to hold these. What I can do is I'm going to infiltrate unconventional access points and moving through locations by unconventional means.
Okay.
So that's my cat burglar skill.
Right.
So now that I've got these 3 holds in my pocket, I'm going to use cat burglar to try to go get in there.
Okay. So what cat burglar does is it basically means that once you use up your hold from covert entry, you gain. Give you a choice? No, you get gear. So once you use up those 3 hold, you'll have somewhere in the midst of doing all of this, you'll have picked up some gear that you'll be able to add to your list.
Yep.
So what we're going to have you do for sneaking in there, though, is going to be what do they call it in this game? Act under pressure. That is using cool. You have a stealth suit that gives you a +1 as long as you haven't been spotted.
Yep.
So you get that +1. You're following the plan, so that's another +1.
And my synthetic nerves give me +1 forward to act under pressure.
How does they phrase it?
Situations where reaction time is critical. Which
I think that would apply here. You're moving quicker than they, you're spotting them, moving quicker than they can see you. So you got a +3 overall, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So can't miss on this.
Don't say that.
Look at that, 13. All right, so you move without any trouble at all. you get right up to the truck now. You're lurking just a few meters away behind some rocks. You see Gwen Harris typing away. Sounds like she's, it looks, she's got a fairly, you can tell it's not just a normal computer, it's a cyber deck. It's a hacker type computer. It's pretty solid, pretty blocky. It looks like she's about finished doing what she's got to do with this. Let's cut to Kincaid. Kincaid, you see Mac move expertly like a wraith down into this area. You lose sight of him even. He's so good at this. What do you want to do?
So I want to get to the truck and be able to open the cab, like the motor cab, or get underneath and just place 2 grenades that I just with either a wire or some fishing line, just pull the pins.
Okay.
From like a safe-ish distance.
Okay. You're going to have to make that act under pressure move.
Sounds good.
And let's see. The sneaking is, yeah, I'll give you that +1. This is still sounds like part of the plan. So we'll give you the +1 for part of the plan. Do you have any other did you make an assess move? Do you have a +1 forward?
I do have a +1 for my
okay,
assess.
from that. So you've got 2 +1. So you're +2 overall. So you're going to roll act under pressure, which is with cool.
I have 1 on cool, so that's not so bad. Oof. But I get 2, right? I didn't put the
3 + 1. You rolled a 3 and a 1, and you added 1. What's your cool?
My cool is 1.
Okay, so you added 1. You didn't give yourself the +2.
I didn't put any of the modifiers.
I see. So you actually got a 7.
Oh, that's great.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Am I understanding that correctly?
No. That's it.
Yeah, it looks like you rolled a 3 and a 1 on the dice.
And I'll take away the assess.
And then you got a 5, and you added 2. Yep, you got a 7. Okay.
Excellent.
So acting under pressure, 7. You stumble, hesitate, or flinch. MCs offer you worst outcome, hard bargain, or ugly choice.
Could be a situation.
You move in there, and you move past the perimeter. The cops turn, the patrol, the pair of patrol cops, they turn and come back towards you, as you're going past. So they're pretty close. And you hear that the guy that's in command, he says, Johnson and Smith, let's go. We're ready to get out of here. And they go back, and you're going to have to rush. So you can take the time to make sure you set up these grenades properly, or you can be certain that you're not going to be spotted.
I'm going to actually take the time that they blow up, because then I'll use the explosion. I'd rather have the explosion be a distraction than not having that distraction. Okay.
So you take the time to make sure that you've got these set up. You got the wires attached correctly. You get the leader away from the truck. You get it back behind a rock. But you hear one of these, Johnson says, "Hey Smith, I think I saw something moving over there by those rocks. Let's go check that out." And Smith goes, "Oh, fine. I got overtime already. I want to get home, but fine, let's go." And they pull out their truncheons, and they start moving over towards you. Mac, you're just checking in with you. You're pretty much on hold waiting for the distraction, right? Is that right?
Waiting for the distraction, or if I see something very expensive come in front of me.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
Sure. Let's go back to you, Kincaid. So these cops are moving over towards the rock that you're hiding behind. What do you do?
I pull the pins, or I pull the string really hard, enough to cause a little noise from the back.
Okay. All right. The trucks, you count 1, 2, 3, boom. The truck explodes, fiery explosion up into the air. And the cops are knocked down. They're not harmed, but they're knocked down. And they're starting to get up. And they're like, one of them's like, there's a wire on the ground going back there, and clearly they've seen your wire. Again, what do you want to do now?
I'd like to pop up and shoot them right in the head.
All right. Your objective, you're going to mix it up. So your stated objective is to kill these 2 cops?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's perfectly fine. Let me remind you that part of your mission was to try not to kill cops, but you.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. In that case, I'm going to shoot to wound.
Okay.
Aim for legs and arms and things.
That reminds me, actually, there was one other thing I needed to do. Going back to the clock sheet, under mission objectives, you guys figured out from your contacts that something was going on. Something strange was going on. The cops were not actually here last night, so that opened up another mission directive. Let me see if I can get this to. There we go. So if you look under mission directives, one is open up now. It says, when you find out what really happened at the crime scene, mark experience. Actually, why we're here, let's see. Seeing if you've gotten any of these other accomplished yet. Not yet. Okay, so no other experience yet, but if you figure out what really happened at the crime scene, that's another point of experience. Okay, so you're going to shoot to wound them. So what I want you to do is you're going to mix it up. This is not really part of your plan. So I'm going to say you're off plan here.
No, now I'm improvising.
Now you're improvising. So you don't get that +1 going forward anymore.
Cool.
But mix it up is with meat.
Yep.
What weapon are you using?
I'm using my assault rifle.
Okay.
3 harm, near far, loud, auto fire.
Okay. I think you. No, never mind.
Okay, submit. Oof, 6.
6.
What happens on the 6?
So, bam, bam. Unfortunately, hit one of them square in the forehead. He's dead. The other one you hit in the leg, he drops. The cops are now. No matter how this mission goes, the cops are going to be on the lookout for you guys. So I'm going to increase their clock. Okay. But you do successfully kill them, or you kill one and you knock down the other one. And Lee, are you up in the air or are you still on the ground with your helicopter?
I think I was still on the ground until I heard gunshots, and then I'm like, okay, yep.
Sure.
Time to get back there.
Lee, like we said, you're about, I think we said, a half mile away or so.
Yeah.
You don't hear it because you've got the engine of your helicopter going and you've got your headphones on, so you can't really hear anything that's not coming over an intercom or your comm system. But you can see that we'll say you're sort of like in a recessed area, but you're kind of like in a gap between 2 ridges. You see that there's a road that's coming from deeper in the waste that's coming towards this site. And you can see dust of vehicles coming down the road, approaching the site.
That seems like a problem. I'm gonna notify Kincaid of that because I think we can use this as like. I think these are maybe the guys that were involved. Well, that the cops supposedly were in the fight with. But anyway, they will be a distraction.
Okay. So Kincaid, you get this message from Lee.
Okay.
Just hold tight there,
Okay.
if you
I'm holding
can,
tight.
and
I'm just changing my position so I'm no longer behind that rock.
Okay. So you try to
idea.
slink off in the darkness. And so the distraction worked wonderfully. Gwen, Officer Harris turns around with a shocked look. The forensics team drop to the ground, huddling. The other two patrol officers come running across because, like we said, they're sort of like directly across from each other as they move around the perimeter. So they've got quite a ways to run. Mac, this looks like this might be your opening. She's got that computer still sitting there on sort of the edge of the doorway into the back of this truck.
And I'm assuming she's ducking for cover or something like that with gunshots.
Yeah. She's not looking that way.
I'm going to grab it and slink back into the truck.
Okay. Let's see. I think what we'll say, I'm just looking back at your covert action entry move. I think you can roll to do this, or you can burn some hold. I'm going to say it would take one hold to get past the guard, which is her, and probably the escaping notice to also grab the computer and all of the chaos. So if you want to burn 2 hold, you can do this without a roll, or we can take it to the dice.
Let's take it to the dice.
Okay. We'll capture both things with 1 roll, but I'm going to say this is more of a sneaking, being quiet, more than quickness thing. So we won't use the synth nerves on this. Do you have any other? You have a +1 for your stealth suit. That would apply here. I don't recall if you have anything else. Oh, you're following the plan.
Okay.
That
I'm the only one following the plan.
Well, Lee's still on the plan. 2 out of 3s, good. So you've got a +2 here.
Okay, follow, and this is cool.
I think it is. Yeah, this is avoiding whatever they call it. Act under pressure. Cool.
Right. Let's see.
All right, not a problem. So you move forward. You grab that computer, tuck it under your arm. You find yourself a nice, quiet, dark spot in the back of this truck, probably like way in the back of this sort of next to there's like a little door that, gives access from this back area into the actual cab, the driving cab. So you're huddled back in there now.
I call it my superiority cubby because I'm the one that's doing well. So Mac is there with just like,
right.
Don't shoot the cops, they say. Don't cause a ruckus, they say.
All right. Lee, you've transmitted this information to Kincaid, and Mac picked it up too. You see this dust approaching their site. What do you do next?
So I'm gonna try to
You heard the
get
explosion
there.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see. Okay, I see these other vehicles approaching. And yeah, I'm gonna kind of circle around from the other direction, and try to get there like ahead of those vehicles, but like close enough to their approach that they would have, like, the cops would have noticed them coming.
Okay. So you want to get there as the cops kind of turn and see this dust approaching, and you come zooming from the other side. And you're hoping to then swoop down and pick up Kincaid at this point, or
yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking that in the chaos that ensues, probably I'm counting on chaos. That we can kind of get away and hopefully either not have any cops chasing us or only have some of the cops chasing us.
Okay. So I think I think Kincaid is going to have to do something to avoid trouble before that happens. It'll take a minute or two for the helicopter to swoop around and get over there. So Kincaid, you've got two patrol cops coming at you, and they've spotted you. You've taken some cover, at least you're not flat out in the open, but they're starting to take some shots at you. What do you do? They've got handguns, so they're shooting at you with pistols.
Yeah. Is there I'm just gonna look at the basic moves. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Can I play hardball? Like, in the sense that, can I use burst fire to like intimidate them just by them knowing that I have sheer firepower over them?
Right. You got superior firepower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So go ahead. I think that's meat, isn't it?
No, it's actually edge.
Oh, okay.
So I will roll edge. I got a 9. So I'm
Okay. And a 9 on playing hardball. For NPCs, the MC chooses one. They attempt to remove you as a threat, but not before suffering the established consequences. They do it, but they want payback. Add them as a threat. They do it, but tell someone all about it. Advance the appropriate mission clock. I think that, assuming some cops survived this whole thing, someone's recorded or got a picture of you, so they're able to start going through their computers and trying to figure out who this mysterious figure was that was shooting at them. So these two patrol cops do indeed drop to the ground and stop firing at you. They take cover. I'm gonna increase the police clock. Actually, I'm gonna up the action clock. Maybe that doesn't make sense. No, it does. What they do is they drop. I'm going to change what I said. They drop, but on their kind of short range radio, maybe the same as you guys have, a mile or two range. They're gonna call in some backup. And Lee, as you're approaching in the helicopter, you see a spinner. A spinner from Blade Runner. These. It's not clear exactly what they use for locomotion. Anti-grav is probably the best guess. So it's come zooming along the waist, kind of at 90 degrees from you. And so you're coming from, we'll say from the west, and these trucks are coming from the east. Actually, that probably doesn't make sense from what I said before. The trucks are coming from the north, or the dust is coming from the north. You're coming from the south. And the spinner's coming from the east, sort of approaching from the sprawl towards you guys. So you see that, at a pretty high altitude, moving quickly towards the site. All right, Lee, I think it's your moment.
Yeah.
So Mac, you probably don't see much. You're just kind of hunkered down. But Kincaid, you see and you hear now the rev of real big macho truck engines approaching, and a lot of dust from whatever direction I just said. And every game I play, trying not to use maps, I always regret it. I'm always like, oh, I should have drawn a map, but oh well. So you hear the rev of these trucks approaching, and then you hear that unmistakable whoop 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 of the helicopter coming, probably flying pretty low, right, Lee?
Oh yeah, because I'm looking for Kincaid to land up as close as possible and pick him up, and then get out of there quickly.
Kincaid, how do you make it obvious? You try to show where you are?
Yeah, I'm actually going to use the fire from the exploded wreckage as a means to light myself up. So, I'll get as near as that as possible and wave at the chopper.
Okay.
Fire is highly visible.
Right. All right. We're going to roll this, and then we'll probably call it a night. I'm tempted to wait to roll it until next time, but let's roll it today. I think it's mean to wait a whole week for this roll. So you're following the plan, so you get a +1. This is going to be acting under pressure. And I think since you're linked in with your vehicle, doesn't your second skin move give you something?
I think it does. Let me see. When you act under pressure, roll cool plus your car's power,
Okay.
which is 2. So that's
All right.
plus 3.
Yep.
All right, and so that's cool, right? Not edge.
Acting
For
under
acting.
pressure is cool. Yep.
Oh, it's right there. Yeah, underneath. Cool. Okay, awesome. So modifiers 3.
All right. There you go.
All right.
So you time it perfect. These trucks come up over sort of a ridge. You see there's like 3 of these heavy duty trucks. They have these, like I said, there's a guy in the back of each of them that's manning this weird mounted gun that's on the back. It's kind of like a machine gun. But anyways, they're coming up, and the patrol cops on the ground and the forensics team that are huddling there, they look that way, and you land. The blades are driving all these flames away from Kincaid as he runs up and jumps into, I imagine it has sort of like one of those slide doors on the side that
Yeah.
you jump into, and you lift off. And I think we'll pick up there next time. Any questions about anything? We're going to do stars and wishes for just a minute. Okay, let me very quickly before I'll remember where we left off. So let's just go around, and if you have any stars or wishes, a star for me is just something, a moment, something cool that came up in the game, something someone did, a player's character that you think is great, anything kind of positive, nice thing to say about something, throw that out there. If you also want to do your wish at the same time, if you don't have a wish, or if you don't have a star for that matter, you don't have to, or if you just don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But a wish is something that you would have liked to seen done differently, or something you would like to see more of, or something you didn't see that you would definitely want to see in the next few sessions. So I'm going to pick on you, Bethany. And next week, whenever we do these things, I'm going to pick on Blaze first. But today it's Bethany's turn. So Bethany, do you have any stars or wishes for us?
Yeah, I have a star for Philip. It's like, oh, I'm just going to get in the truck. Because I was like, okay, let's see, how, coming up with complicated plans. He's like, no, let's just, I know how to do this. I have a move for this. This is perfect. This is my moment. It's like, yes. Because otherwise, I would still not know what to do there. So, awesome. And wishes, I would like to find out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely, depending on, a lot of that's dependent on assessing. You guys assessed a lot of things, but there was a lot of things you didn't, which is fine. There were a lot of other little clues that I could have put out there for you guys, but yeah, it might be just a mystery, or you might, maybe we'll get back to that next time. I think there's going to be more opportunities. Okay. Any other Blaze? You got any stars or wishes?
Stars, I'm gonna give it to Mac. He clearly knew what we were doing today. In terms of wishes, I guess unraveling the mystery, but I'm like, how can I say this? I'd like to have, like, I guess I want Kincaid to live out of this, because it really sounds like he's not gonna make it out. 1 or 2 sessions. So I think the wish is that he actually lives, and what that means in the end.
Yeah.
A bunch of stuff.
And Philip.
Stars, I actually like that we have a group that kind of each has its own moments, which is not something you always get, especially for, groups that you're kind of just putting it together. Wishes, I think that we got a lot of stuff outstanding. It would be cool to find the mystery, and the fact that we've got the van full of all the evidence. So we can always, we've got unlimited time and unlimited resources. We could find out what happened.
That's
definitely. Fair. Yeah. And several of you have financial directives. You got a truck full of stuff, that has good street value. I'm sure you're heading towards a smuggling den, designed specifically for dropping off and picking up illicit stuff. So yeah, you guys are locked and loaded to have a lot of interesting things happen. And that's my star two is, I think I did, in designing the mission, I had, like what Bethany was saying, is like, I don't know what we're going to do to get this stuff. But then, I made it that way. I didn't want to provide the answers. I really held myself back trying to like signpost everything for you guys and hoping that planning that you guys would figure something out. And your plan is really good. And your dice are really good too, so, it's worked well. Yeah, it's worked pretty well. There's enough misses that it makes it interesting, but enough successes, to really, have fun with it too, and not have a mission that just falls apart from the beginning and just becomes a total mess. So far, I'm happy with the way the mission's gone. I really enjoyed the contacts that we created. I think this was a nice session where we built enough setting and flavor stuff and characters that we can return to. But then we had enough time to get into a mission too. So I was glad to see we were able to, I think pacing wise, my goal, and I guess this is my wish, is to try to get a mission done in one session. Watching actual plays of this game, that might be a little bit much to expect, but that's my goal regardless. So hopefully next time we will finish this mission. We'll do some of the sort of in between mission stuff, which isn't a whole lot, just a little bit. This game is pretty much just missions, and then we'll get well into the next mission. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. Any final thoughts or questions? So I hope everybody can make it next week. Like we said, we've been saying in our hangout, life has been hard for a lot of us. So if people have to drop out, that's life. But I hope we're able to get another session or two in before the month is over. But thank you.
Oops. Thank you for running.
Cool. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Take care. Have a wonderful
Night,
weekend.
everybody.
Bye.
Yes.